welcome to Talkin' Tonberries. Hey, I'm your host, Cooper IRL, and this week we have a real special show for everybody tonight. Up top, we have Final Fantasy with Friends finale for Final Fantasy II. And after that, I'm going to be joined by our special guest for the evening. That's Mr. A. Marhefka, and we will discuss our experiences with Final Fantasy 1, 2, and hand out some awards on our favorite moments. And finally, Amar Hefka and myself began a new journey of Final Fantasy III. But first, I would like to thank our sponsors, Kraken Cola and Lamia Queen Moisturizing Cream. We'll hear from them a little later in the show, but first, let's see what happened last week on Final Fantasy II.
New? We haven't seen that before.
That's a Jade Passage if I've ever seen one.
Looks more like a butthole, but whatever.
A lot of buttholes in this game.
Really love a butthole.
The way ahead leads to a forsaken place. It exists for those who may one day tread its darkened path.
Whoa.
Dope.
Okay. Whew. It's getting really real. This is the Castle of Hell. Pandemonium. Whoa!
Borgin!
It's
back, baby!
Zombie Borgin! No way.
Don't worry, y'all. I'm back! No one thought they'd see Borgin again, but I went to hell and became a zombie.
Get a hold of some of those cheap rainbows up at the mall.
Oh no, I'm dead again!
There you go.
Oh, ho, ho, ho. Yes!
You have braved the bowels of hell to reach me, the Lord Master of Hell.
Nice! Very
Whoa.
cool.
That's really awesome.
Oh man, do you think Furion's back hurts?
From carrying everybody?
Right? I mean, at least he'll be able to, God
There
damn!
it is. That's why this is going to be a hard fight. It's like, it's so funny. I feel like every turn could be the last swing in the fight. Alright, place your bets now, everybody. Who's going to deal the killing blow?
Oh, it's Furion!
Or is it
maybe
Guy?
Guy is Guy. That would be the most Guy thing to do.
You bought a ticket for the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge.
What is that?
This is it. I feel it. I feel it in my bones.
You're not gonna save?
God damn it.
Everyone's enjoying the fact that all I do is diddle fish and make money. Yeah, wasn't Ultima supposed to kill the Emperor?
I mean, it's supposed to be the ultimate magic, and it's doing 350 damage. I mean, I think Guy's Blizzard is... It's
No.
half of Ultima.
Oh!
That's it! With Guy. Guy hits
Guy!
the Emperor
Guy!
with
Yes!
Blizzard.
Guy!
Oh, man, that's it.
Yes!
God dang it. Unbelievable. Who are you? Back to our lovely lady. It's finally over, isn't it? It was a long struggle. But with the Emperor gone, we've nothing left to fear. With all my heart, I thank you.
Though once a coward, and still a coward, I now stand here, the same man. I have all of you to thank for that. You have my deepest gratitude.
Also, look at that little shit-eating grin on his face.
I'm sure Scott, my really handsome and rugged and adventurous brother, is smiling down on me from above.
It's not. He hates you so
He's
much.
still very disappointed.
Wrong kid died.
Look at you. Do you realize what you've done? You put me out of a job. Wow, Paul really is the worst. I guess I'll just have to start stealing from you. Better watch your backs, 'cause I'm the greatest thief of all time. You did it. I'm sure my dad's happy for you too, up there, above the clouds. Ah! Joseph? Farewell. My words cannot express my gratitude to you all.
War
finally over.
Yes, Guy. You can go and live with the beaver folk once again.
Thank God, I hate hanging out with you guys.
We can live together in peace again. Right, Leon?
For us, there can be no going back.
But why? Don't go. Furion, stop him.
I can't stop him. Not now. Leon, wait. Before you leave, can we get back some of that really dope-ass, sweet, awesome armor that we gave you? But we will meet again.
Aw, yeah, you did it! Dude, you predicted it!
This is only the beginning.
Final Fantasy II.
The end.
Oh, that's so cool, man. I can't believe we did it. I can't believe that's Final Fantasy II in the bag.
And this week's episode of Talking Tonberries is presented by Kraken Cola. Do you ever feel yourself crawling through endless dungeons, fighting off hordes of the undead? Have potions lost their potency? Elixirs not giving you whiskers? Hi, I'm the Kraken. I've changed my evil ways to pursue my true passion. What do you reach for when you have a burst of thirst? A Kraken brand cola, of course. Packed with absolutely no vitamins or minerals, this refreshing, lukewarm, pulsating soda will have your tentacles taste buds wriggling for more. Don't be a chump when busting your hump. Grab a couple cans and get Kraken. Cola, that is. Limited supply only, restricted 8 cans per customer. Kraken Cola is not responsible for any resulting effects, including poison, silence, blindness, confusion, petrification, paralysis, mini, or toad. Illegal in all 4 realms. And coming soon, new Diet Kraken with 40% less ink.
Hey, thank you so much, Kraken Cola. Welcome back. And what an adventure that was. I can't believe we finished Final Fantasy II last week. And you know, I couldn't have done it without my co-pilot for Final Fantasy II, Mr. Amar Hefka. I think he's coming in. I think he's coming in on the channel right now. I think. Amar Hefka, you there? Are you with us? Oh, having a little technical difficulty. Oh, there he is. Hey, Amar Hefka, what's going on, man?
What's happening tonight, guys?
Whew, boy, it has been a journey of Final Fantasy II, and
Hey,
guess what? We got the face reveal of Amar Hefka.
I need to go a little bit higher. Whatever.
You've all been asking for it. There it is. Hey, I just want to welcome everybody. We're doing something a little different tonight. Hope you enjoyed the production so far. Really, we're just going to talk about Final Fantasy 1 and 2. We're kind of going to break it down and talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, and we're going to move on from there.
Yeah, no, we're gonna just kind of give a run by run how we feel about both those games. Coop, was this your first time playing Final Fantasy 1 and 2, or just 2?
I think I played Final Fantasy 1 a really, really long time ago, but it was definitely my first time playing Final Fantasy 2.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, it was definitely my first time playing Final Fantasy 2. 1 I've done several times. This is probably my 3rd or 4th time beating it, but it's one I go back to a lot for some reason. Even though how simple it is.
I mean, it's really simple, but again, they started with such a solid formula. Like, getting those mechanics down right off the bat on 1, I mean, it's solid. It really is the classic Final Fantasy.
Yeah, absolutely. Do we just want to go blow by blow down our list and kind of compare and contrast?
Yeah, let's go for it.
So first up, we have story. Just to give one above the other, 2 had a better story than 1. 1 was nothing.
Yeah, I have to agree. 1 was pretty lackluster when it came to the overall story of things. You were kind of just running around, and there were mentions of, some of the typical Final Fantasy stuff, but There wasn't a whole lot to it.
No.
Whereas 2, I mean, the story of 2 it was a little confusing. It was a little all over the place, but at least it had more substance than 1.
Well, it had characters, which we'll get to shortly, but yeah, no, it had characters where 1 had the fiends and the main characters who were all nameless automatons, and then there's a couple other, Sarah, who you save at the beginning, and really, that was the traditional, go save the princess story, and,
I mean, yeah, it all really started there, right? I mean, starting with, the big baddie busting into the kingdom, Garland, right?
Garland.
Busting into the kingdom and kind of slapping the princess down to the ground, and we have to, the first thing you have to do is save the princess. It's such a classic story.
Oh, yeah, it was straight out of Mario, yeah.
Yeah.
there is part of me that thinks that was part of the inspiration of those first, that first hour of the game was the go save the princess narrative.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. And then 2 was a lot more... It was a little bit more intricate with an empire and warring factions, and, we still had the same thing, like different civilizations were wiped out and that, but, we really got to know them a bit better before they were wiped out, except for the Dragoons. They were wiped out before we got there, but we at least got to, hang out with the Dragoon.
Yeah, and I mean, really, going back to the, 1 introduced a lot of the standard mechanics for Final Fantasy, but I think 2 really got the story elements right. Again, the introduction of the Empire, the introduction of more of the magical elements of things. I mean, there's a lot more going on in 2 that I think lends itself really well to the rest of the series.
Yeah. And we definitely see tropes from each of them, but we're gonna go give it to 2 over 1 for story, just because it had more characters and a bad guy who showed up more than at the very end. The Emperor actually shows up twice, once in the Coliseum, once in the castle, and then finally at the end.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Gotta love a good Emperor. Going over to gameplay, they're basically the same. I'm gonna still give it to 1 over 2, just because of the options of changing character classes.
Yep.
Where 2 does have that thing we see later on in 7 and 8, where anyone can learn anything, but some people are better at learning the one thing than the other.
Right. And again, the gameplay, if we're talking gameplay in general, it's very common core in Final Fantasy 1. It makes a lot of sense. It's really solid. 2 is a little rockier on the gameplay. It's not as straightforward as 1. There were a lot of points in time where we had no idea where we were going, what we had to do, how to trigger the next big story event. So it takes a huge hit just off of that alone.
Right. Even where, 1 did have a little bit of being obtuse in where certain things are, but I definitely think with the what was it called? The keyword system.
Oh yeah, the keyword, having to ask and learn and knowing what character to talk to at a specific time. There was nothing there. There was nothing to point you in the right direction. You kind of just had to get lucky or spend hours backtracking to every village and kingdom and castle in Final Fantasy 2.
Yeah.
Didn't really lend itself, it wasn't doing itself any favors by doing that.
Yeah, no, but again, it's still the, kind of same basics where it is, attack, magic, item, run.
Yeah.
And, it's good. You can't really beat it from a, easy, basic standpoint, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. As far as 1 and 2, I think we've both played 1 before. This was our first time playing 2. There's something about Final Fantasy games that a lot of people have nostalgia for, and it's the replayability of them. Where do these 2 stand for you?
I'm going to go for 1 just because of that option to do like a challenge run, just like Grant was talking in chat in the beginning. We are about to start playing Final Fantasy 3 tonight, and he was like, all white mages. And I was like, yeah, you can do that in Final Fantasy 1. It doesn't give you the convenience of, if you get in a tight spot, you can change out one of those white mages into a monk and punch the crap out of things. But,
right.
I like that better, but in the end, the story is more enjoyable in 2, so that might actually make me go back to 2 more. But if I'm going for something challenging, yeah, there's definitely the option in 1 to go do that.
Right, yeah, and that's what I really like. That's definitely a big part of replayability for me, is that the options, how to play the game, the challenge runs, setting limitations on yourself. That I think that's really important when it comes to replayability, where 2 just didn't really have it. I thought the story was cool. I think we missed a couple of things, a couple little side quests, or I think there were a few other instances that we just never went back to towns. And so we missed a couple of things. If I hadn't gone back to Deist after Rickard had died, then we wouldn't have. I wouldn't have put the 2 and 2 together, that it was his wife and his son, and they gave us Excalibur, which really came in clutch at the end when Firion had it in his right hand.
Yeah, right.
But for the most part, it doesn't have a whole lot of flavor. The grind is really weird. Again, kind of going back to the mechanics, 1 is really solid. It makes sense. It's a set list of rules on how to level up and gain experience. But 2 is just kind of like, maybe it'll work, maybe it doesn't.
Yeah, no. And it was just like, when someone's attack, a guy specifically, when his attack went down, it was just like, why? There was no rhyme or reason why that was not working as well before.
No, there really wasn't. And even to the point where there's not a whole lot of okay, so look, there are a lot of weapon types in that game, but we very quickly realized that once you start down a leveling track with a weapon, you kind of have to stick with it. You can't switch somebody from a bow to an axe, because that was depending on the level as well. It was too much. It didn't give you as many options on how to play the game.
Absolutely. Let's talk about characters.
Yeah, let's talk about those characters.
So we broke it down to heroes and villains. And 1, the heroes were the player characters, and one thing I don't really care for in RPGs is when you have a silent protagonist who has no personality or no dialogue or anything like that. And that's what the Warriors of Light were.
Yeah, and that makes it really tough to kind of empathize or sympathize with a character. There's no real connection in between you and them when they don't say anything, when they don't have a personality. They're just a blank slate.
I get the idea of self-insert characters, but it just doesn't ever do it for me.
Nah, not really. There's a time and a place, and I think sometimes it's best when there's one of them or 2 of them, not the whole party.
The other characters, heroes in 1 were Sarah, the princess. She gives you a lute.
Yeah.
The elf prince. But the real standout is the pirate captain BK.
Which is, I think it's kind of funny that you have him in the heroes section, when the first thing he does is sick all of his pirates on you, which you promptly kick their asses.
Oh yeah, real quick.
And then he gives you the boat, right? He's just like, you know what, you killed my crew, here's a boat.
Listen, it's a typical thing in, anime and manga. You beat the bad guy one time, he becomes an ally. Yamcha was a bad guy. Ten Shinhan was a bad guy, and they ended up being part of the Z Warriors.
These are all characters that I know.
Yep, Dragon Ball Z. Don't worry about it.
Okay, nailed it. Great.
Yeah, no, I'm putting him as a hero. He gives us a boat.
I think the villains in this were a little more substantial than the heroes. And right off the bat, I mean, there's Garland, who you see right at the beginning, who's trying to kill the princess. And the second villain I have on my list is BK, by the way.
Well, you know what? BK's really one of those real nasty villains that is a roadblock early. I'm just trying to full of shit right now. BK's a hero. He gives you the boat.
BK's a hero. Honorable mention to Astos, who has one line. And
no, he sends you on the quest to go get the thing.
Well, and at that point he's disguised as the Elf King, right?
Yeah, the other Elf King.
Yeah. He's like, go find the so and so and bring it back to me. But he was kind of funny because the reveal was good. I didn't see it coming.
No, yeah, Marsh Cave is bullshit.
But then you have the Four Fiends. I mean, these are kind of iconic, classic Final Fantasy characters or villains or monsters that you don't really get to see again unless they're teased or thrown into Final Fantasy 15.
Two had technically. I mean, it could have been the Kraken. No, what belly were we were inside the Leviathan?
Leviathan, yeah,
not the Kraken.
But there was a return of Tiamat.
Yeah,
there was Tiamat, the Lich.
But wasn't Tiamat just in a box?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, Tiamat was just in a box. Merilith and who am I forgetting?
Merilith, Lich, Kraken, and Tiamat.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's all of them. But it's like running into those bosses in Final Fantasy 1 was like, oh shit, this is big. It's not just a color palette swapped version of goblins over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So that was kind of nice, and they really stuck out to me. And then you get to fight them again, which is pretty cool. You kind of have like a little boss rush at the end of one.
Mm-hmm. And the Chaos Shrine, right?
Oh, and Chaos, right. The reveal of Garland being Chaos in the future past?
No, in the past. Yeah, 1,000, 2,000 years in the past, yeah.
Yeah, so pretty cool. Again, messing with time a little bit is another. I think that's another kind of classic Final Fantasy, trope device that's been used in a lot of other Final Fantasies. Whether it's World of Light, World of Dark, World of Balance, World of Ruin, and then most of the time those are connected with some sort of time travel. So.
It would be cool, like, if we could see that previous world and what it looked like, almost kind of like in Legend of Zelda. Link to the Past, to see that the old world a little bit. But,
yeah, great example.
We're gonna hit the Final Fantasy 2 heroes and villains, and 2 had some really fun heroes.
Oh boy, did it!
Oh snap! If you just watch that recap, we really have a fondness for Minwu, Joseph, Rickard, and the other one.
Yeah, the other one.
Sid.
Yeah, Sid. There he is.
He wasn't in combat, so I couldn't remember his name.
But one of the things right off the bat is that we're moving from these no-name blank slate heroes to heroes that have a lot of story that's kind of baked in. I mean, we did a lot of storytelling on their behalf.
Especially Gordon.
With Gordon. Well, I mean, I guess the key ones, Firion, Guy, and Maria. I mean, we kind of played with who they were in their backstory a little bit, but they're still kind of mysterious pasts, but their development over the game is top tier compared to Final Fantasy 1.
But just going blow by blow, Firion, Guy, and Maria, all a little generic, except for Guy. Guy, actually, I like. Firion and Guy... Or Firion and Maria, pretty generic, but Guy was a real special case, like the dumb brute with the heart of gold who really loves animals.
Good stuff, man.
Really, really loves animals.
Good stuff. I mean, let's move on to the supporting characters. Obviously, in that last recap, you see Minwu, you see Joseph, you see Rickard, you see Sid. You definitely get a little bit of that Hilda. That real nice, that Hilda.
Oh man! And don't forget Paul.
Can't forget Paul.
Paul didn't have a heroic death because he's a coward.
There was Scott. Scott was an honorable mention. He died super early in the game, but his death, was kind of meaningful. You walk into a tavern basement and find him laying in his deathbed.
Mm-hmm.
And then find out...
Speaking of which, I just realized something. It's really fucked up that Scott was engaged to marry Hilda, and then Gordon kind of swooped in there with doing nothing.
Yeah, a little bit. Again, I think that was... I only came up with it, today or yesterday, or was it last Saturday, whatever. But coming up with the idea that the wrong kid died...
Yeah.
Like, that game would have been so much better if Scott had lived and Gordon had died.
We wouldn't have to deal with his whiny voice.
Exactly. But even Leela or Layla, the rest of the supporting characters, Minwoo, super OP with the white magic, loyal to the kingdom, sacrificed himself for the ultimate tome. How can you not love that? Gordon, whiny little bitch.
He was there.
He was there. Leon was he was a cool heel turn when it came to him. You see him in the very first scene when we're getting our asses kicked by Death Riders. And then you don't see him until much, much later when it's revealed that he's actually the Dark Knight working for the Emperor.
Right, absolutely. And that actually brings up the villains a little bit. Compared to Final Fantasy 1, the villains are a little bit weak sauce. We really only had 3 named villains, and that being the Dark Knight, which isn't really a name, but he had a portrait and had a name and a couple lines. We had Borgin, who was a real garbage person, and then the Emperor, and then the true villain of the game, Gatos.
Gatos? Was it Gatos?
Yeah, Gatos, the little monster occupying Finn, Castle Finn.
Yeah, and you know what? The villains, again, they kind of stand out a little more. I mean, you could say Borgin kind of took place of... sorry, I gotta go back to my other notes here for a second. Of Astos. I mean, he was kind of in the background. You fought him once, and then it was revealed closer to the end that he came back from hell with the Emperor.
Well, definitely the big thing for Borgin is he did kill Joseph.
He did kill Joseph, and we have to get back to that for a second. The character deaths in this game, they were pretty devastating.
They hit hard and fast, man. There's no build up. There's none of that dramatic irony of well, after this, I'm going to go see my daughter. No, it's literally a boulder crushes you to death.
My sweet Nelly.
Oh, sweet Nelly.
Yeah, and I mean, it coming at you hard and fast. I mean, it really was I really didn't see it coming. I didn't think there was going to be much permadeath from playable characters. We see Scott die in his deathbed, but he's never a playable character. Joseph, on the other hand, I mean, he's awesome. He's this big, burly monk who also rides snowmobiles for fun.
Yeah, and works in the mine. It's awesome. It's super cool.
And works in the mine. He's got enough of this backstory behind him that makes that death so important. And let's see. So Gordon, Minwoo, again, we kind of brushed on that for a second, giving up his life for the ultimate tome.
I mean, Minwoo was really cool in the beginning. I wish we had played with him a little bit going into the tower and not just meeting him at the top of the tower.
That would have been a great twist. And really, Leela and Rickard, or Richard, as we found out, they're a little weaker. You don't get a whole lot of time to play with them. And they don't really develop stories too much. Hey, there's that Ultimania guide. But they're still there, and they feel like characters that you want to spend more time with.
Yeah, it was cool that Rickard, did show up in the end and kind of save the crew from the Emperor. But and then let's throw up on there. Speaking of saving the crew from the Emperor, the Wyvern.
Oh yeah, the Wyvern really came out on top. I was just about to say, one of the greatest reveals in Final Fantasy II is the fact that Rickard's last name is Highwind.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? That's the first mention of Highwind in a Final Fantasy game.
And one last thing about that. First time we see Chocobos.
Oh yeah, first time we see Chocobos. I forgot about that. Now, albeit in a very hidden... tiny square of forest that
right.
very easily missed. But it was really cool. It's cool to see some of those firsts in Final Fantasy. And let's see, the Wyvern and Richard being the last Highwind, very cool. Need to touch on it real quick. Sid dying was I didn't see it coming. But at the end of the day, it was he died, moving on.
He got killed for some reason. I don't even remember why he got injured and died.
I can't remember either. And
then one last thing, the Emperor, kind of
kind of bland. But we see him a little more than Chaos, which, you know, he sets a trap for us at the Coliseum and unleashes a behemoth, which is really cool.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Dies like a punk, and then comes back from hell, which is like chun 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 chun, you know.
Super metal.
Yeah.
And you know what? There's only one other character that I feel like we need to mention. Beaver Fever, baby. Beaver Fever. Talk about
It's hot. I got that beaver fever.
I knew that fan was gonna come out at some point. That's too funny. The beavers showing up and Guy's ability to talk to animals, never saw it coming.
Super wild. Like, he was just like this really stupid guy who had real dumb voice, and he talks to beavers. It was the funniest reveal.
It was awesome. Really funny, and the beavers came in clutch. I actually don't really remember what we got from them.
The beavers showed us a secret doorway down to go get the bell, I think.
Oh, that's right.
And then we fought the Adamantoids to get the bell.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You want to hand out a little superlatives for each of the games?
Yeah, we've got a couple superlatives for both 1 and 2. I think first up we're going to award the Joseph Award.
Yeah, it's the inaugural Joseph Award.
Which is going to be for most devastating death in each game.
And we're going to go ahead and skip over 1 because...
nobody really dies.
Yeah. No one of import dies.
Yeah. So we can definitely skip over that one, but it's called the Joseph Award for a reason. We got to give it to Joseph in Final Fantasy II.
Absolutely. He has a daughter. He was a badass. He held that boulder, gave his life for the team. It was very good. You know,
a very classic scenario of, you know, I'm going to hold him off. And it wasn't a person. It was a boulder that was going to crush us. And I think that we probably just could have jumped to the side and everybody could have lived, which made it even more devastating.
Right, yeah.
You know, that selfless sacrifice to save the rest of the team really hit hard. And I do remember in that recap, like we both kind of lose our minds for about 2 or 3 minutes, just going like, "No, Joseph, why?"
But why?
Yeah, it was too good. So we got to give the Joseph Award to Joseph. That's just how it goes.
Next up, we have the Gordon Award, which is the character who we wanted to die the most.
Mm-hmm.
And again, 1 doesn't get 1.
Well, we talked about it for a second, and if we had to pick 1, there is a village in Final Fantasy I that has a ring of 12 scholars, and there's one that just talks forever and doesn't give us any good information, doesn't point us in the right direction, doesn't give us any items or hints, tips, tricks, nothing. And I remember getting stuck in his dialogue, I think twice.
Yeah,
and just mashing out of it because I didn't want to talk to him anymore.
Yep.
So, you know, honorable mention to that one shitty scholar in Final Fantasy I winning the Gordon Award.
Absolutely. Of course, the Gordon Award for Final Fantasy II goes to Gordon.
It has to. God, he was the worst.
He's really just like, from his character portrait. Like, yeah, you know what? He actually was pretty decent in battle eventually. But his character portrait, his demeanor, like, fuck, that guy sucked.
Yeah, he was pretty miserable. Every time he came on screen, it was like, the wrong kid died.
The wrong kid died. The less said about Gordon, the better.
Yeah. I think the next award that we have is the Warrior of Light Award.
Yes.
Let's see, did we have one for... Okay, I just checked my notes for Final Fantasy I Warrior of Light Award.
Uh-huh.
The one, the only.
Captain BK.
That's right.
Yeah, he gave us a boat.
he gave us the boat. You know, he went down without a fight. He turned heel. Or what's the opposite of turning heel?
Turn face?
Turn face.
I guess. I don't know. I don't watch wrestling.
So, you know, that was... we had to give it to him. But the true warrior of light in Final Fantasy II. Hands down. Guy is Guy.
Guy is Guy. He gets it, man. He had some of the funniest moments.
Oh my god.
He was a powerhouse at the beginning, and he did the killing blow on the Emperor.
With like a level 7 blizzard spell.
Yeah, that did like 121 damage. Yeah, no, Guy is Guy.
It was too funny. We got to give a big Warrior of Light award to Guy. It's going to be hard to top him. It's going to be hard to top any of these in Final Fantasy 3, but we'll get there when we get there.
No, but we'll get there, all right.
You want to talk about the next award that we want to give out?
Yeah, I have it written down here. We'll go with this one. We'll go with the Chaos Award.
Oh, we're gonna go with Chaos first. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's, best character, best villain.
Sounds good.
Yeah, best hero, best villain. The Chaos Award. I actually don't remember what we went with here. It definitely wasn't Captain BK.
It wasn't BK. I have.
It was Lich.
Yeah, it was the Lich.
He had the best design. He was a wicked badass skeleton.
Super awesome design. I can't exactly remember what voice I gave him, but I think it was the same voice that tells the story of the Doomslayer.
Yeah, you went the Doomsayer voice.
Yeah, so that was pretty awesome. And again, like you don't see many liches. I mean, you don't see a lot of the core fiends from 1, show themselves again. But he was probably the coolest.
Oh yeah, and again, going back to the origins of Final Fantasy being rooted in Dungeons and Dragons, there's a lot of liches in Dungeons and Dragons. There's I can't remember his name, but he shows up a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess Chaos Award for Final Fantasy II.
It's Borgin.
It's got to go to Borgin.
The Dark Knight sucks. He doesn't do anything other than show. He didn't even let you guys off the Dreadnought when you when you try to leave it. He's there, standing there, and won't let you leave. But Borgin kills another party member. It's him. He's the bad guy.
Right.
He's got the gross face. He's classic villain. Yeah.
And he comes back.
Even though,
correct me if I'm wrong, was he in a monster in a box?
Yeah, he was a monster in a box, but yeah.
So just kind of I was thinking about that for a minute. The Emperor brought him back from hell and then shoved him in a box because he was that annoying.
Well, let's just go over it real fast. The Emperor was so powerful. He put the Lord of the Flies Beelzebub.
Mm-hmm.
He put Tiamat in a box, and he put something else in a box. I can't remember exactly what it was. Oh, Astos. No, not Astos. The was it Metatron? It was one of those high archangels.
Astaroth.
Astaroth? Maybe. Okay. Yeah, he put an angel in a box. So yeah.
I mean, not to mention all those different dragons that he threw in boxes too.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, Borgin, I mean, Borgin being real solid, just a greasy character that you do get a chance to fight. He went down like a chump. We hit him with one Antarctic wind that we found in a cave, and he went down.
Thank God, because we had no resources left.
Oh, that was a struggle. We were on the verge of death.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely got to give the Chaos Award to Borgin for Final Fantasy II.
And then we'll wrap it up with our superlatives with the Crystal Award.
Yeah, the coveted Crystal Award, which I think we both agreed was the most iconic moment.
Yeah, I think it was either iconic or memorable moment.
Yeah. Final Fantasy 1.
Easy peasy, man. When the desert parts ways and the airship comes out.
Awesome. Super metal. I mean, I think a lot of people that have played Final Fantasy expect the airship, but 1, I mean, throwing the airship into 1, did not expect it. Didn't really see it coming, especially it rising out from a desert out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was probably the most epic, most iconic moment of Final Fantasy 1. Now, Final Fantasy 2, on the other hand...
We had a little talk about this. This one was hard.
We were a little divided.
I think you can go ahead and go with yours.
Maybe this was mine. Guy meeting the beavers for the first time.
Yours was actually the wyvern coming out of the mirror.
I mean, that was super cool too.
Yeah, I think that was the one you picked, and I think I picked guy talking to the beavers.
But no, yeah, the Wyvern Awakening was probably the coolest moment because there's this sub story going on in Final Fantasy II where all the dragoons are dead. You actually go and take a pendant off of the corpse of a dragoon in order to speak to wyverns. Thought that was super awesome. The last wyvern dying was really traumatic, but then the wyvern appearing from the mirror was like, it's also one of the best cutscenes in the game.
Oh yeah, and it definitely comes, it's a build up, like almost like you forget about it until you have that moment. Like it's a little disconnected because like you don't think that mirror is gonna produce a wyvern, but it does, and it's great. But where you're waiting for that wyvern, when is it going to show up, and then boom, there it is.
Yeah, just when you need him the most.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Not to belabor the guy talking to Beaver's point, but that's just so fucking funny, man. It's so good.
Absolutely lost my shit. Did not see it coming. I mean, we walked into a hot spring full of beavers, and we couldn't talk to any of them. They all just went, where did they go? Did they go chip chip?
No, it was like nook shik.
Yeah, that's right. To walk up to the head beaver in charge, and guy just come out of nowhere and start talking to him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, really, really good moment.
And I think we're going to throw them up on a list and rank them. What did we think?
But yeah, here is the. I don't know if you can say it with me. There might be a little bit of a delay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and introduce.
You go for it.
This is the Final Fantasy Comprehensive Ultra Complete Knockout Ranking List. All right, everybody. We are gonna continue doing this all the way through Final Fantasy X, but to start off, our runner-up in second pole position gotta be Final Fantasy I. Overall, Final Fantasy II definitely knocked it out of the park.
I was fighting hard for Final Fantasy 1, but I'm okay. I'm okay with taking the L for Final Fantasy 1 over 2.
I think it's gonna be a lot harder moving forward to keep ranking those and finding out exactly where they're gonna fall on the ranking list. So I'm glad that we got those first two out of the way.
Yeah, nice and easy. No bullshit.
And here, I don't think we should waste any more time. We thought that we could do this in 30 minutes, but of course, we could talk about Final Fantasy all day, obviously.
Oh yeah.
But hey, I wanna thank Amar Hefka for the face cam reveal. I want to thank him for going along with this crazy idea of talking Tonberries, which if you guys are into this kind of thing, maybe we'll keep it going.
And if not, you just have to wait for Final Fantasy 3 to be over, and it'll come back.
That's right, exactly. But yeah, again, real quick, I just want to thank everybody for giving us a shot on this new platform. We are going to jump into Final Fantasy 3 right after this. We're not going to stop the stream or anything. We're just going to transition nicely. But you know what? Yeah, I want to thank everybody here, and I want to thank our other sponsor. We have two sponsors tonight. We had Kraken Cola. And, yeah, got to give a big shout out to our last sponsor, Lamia Queen Moisturizing Cream. Let's hear a quick word from them, shall we?
Are you hip, young, half reptile, half woman, being kept out of the dating game because of your scaly hide? Is your snake lady eczema keeping you from feeling the caress of your handsome young warrior of light? If so, we've got good news for you. Lamia Queen Moisturizing Cream is now available over-counter at your local item shop. No prescription required. Now with 3 essential crystal shards. So if your scaly, untouchable skin is holding you back, holding your love life, try Lamia Queen's Moisturizing Cream today. If your skin's a little crusty and your love life's getting rusty, use Lamia Queen's Moisturizing Cream. Warning, Lamia Queen's Moisturizing Cream does not cure your reptilian half. Do not use while shapeshifting or using potion. This product is not endorsed by the lizard people of Gaia.
Hey, I'm Cooper IRL.
I'm Amar Hefka.
And we will see you next time, whenever that might be.